Welcome everyone. Till now in this module, we all understood how to work with different type of files with the help of Python. For example, we understood how to process text files in Python, how we can utilize binary files, and we also understood how we can process document as well as PDF files in Python. Now next, we will discuss how we can work with CSV files with the help of Python. So we start off this tutorial by giving an overview related to CSV files, and we will discuss about the CSV module that we are going to use throughout this tutorial to process CSV files. After this, we will understand how we can read a CSV file with the help of the CSV module, and in the last we will discuss how we can write a CSV file by utilizing the CSV module in Python. So without any further delay, let's jump on to our very first topic and let's discuss what are CSV files. Now CSV simply stands for comma separated values, and CSV is simply a basic file format utilized for storing tabular data, for example spreadsheets and databases, and it stores all this tabular data in a plain text format. Moreover, a data record in the CSV is represented by each line in the file, and each record in the file has one or more fields which are separated by commas. Now the name for this file format comes from the use of the commas as a field separator. Now if I talk about Python, Python facilitates one built-in module named CSV which allows us to work with CSV files. Now though we can utilize the open built-in function to read a CSV file, still Python provides a dedicated module which is named as CSV, and this CSV module is a built-in module, so we don't need to install it. We can start using it directly after importing the module into the required Python program. So let me show you one basic CSV file. So here on the screen you can see one sample CSV file. The very first line in the CSV file represents the header, and each of the header is separated using a comma. So title is one header, IMDb hyphen rating is another header. In the same way, two more headers are there. After the headers, each line in the CSV file represents a record. So this line 2 is a record where values are separated using comma. So the Batman is the value for this title header. In the same way, 7.9 is the value for this IMDb hyphen rating header, and in the same way two more values are there. Now the main task of the CSV file is to represent tabular data. So let me show you how we can represent tabular data. Let me open this CSV file in the tabular mode. So on the screen you can see this table which represents data from the CSV file. The very first row represents headers and all other rows represents records. So I hope with this we got an overview related to a CSV file. Now let's move forward and let's start discussing about some of the basic operations related to CSV. Now there are two basic operations that we can implement on a CSV file. The very first is about reading a CSV file, and the second is about writing a CSV file. And second is about writing a CSV file. Now how we can implement this thing in Python? For this, Python facilitates a dedicated built-in module which is also named as CSV. Now if we want to read a CSV file, we need to use the reader method from the CSV module. Now the role of this method is to return a reader object that we can utilize to iterate over each line from the specified CSV file. And here on the screen also you can see the syntax of using this reader method. So the syntax goes something like this: csv.reader, where CSV represents the module and reader is the method. Now within this method there are three parameters. Very first parameter is the CSV file. Now this parameter is utilized to specify the CSV file, and in this parameter we either need to specify a file object or a list object. After CSV file, the next parameter is dialect, which is an optional parameter, and it is utilized to specify the parameters related to CSV dialect. The next parameter is fmt params, which is also an optional parameter, and it is utilized to specify formatting parameters related to a CSV file. Now to understand how we can utilize this method, let's discuss one example. So here on this screen, let's look at the very first example. in this example, first we imported the CSV module. So we have written this import statement. After this, we are opening a file imdb underscore data. Now the extension of this file is CSV, so it is a CSV file, and we are opening this file in the reading mode. And if we do not specify the text or binary mode, the default mode is text. So we are opening this file in the text mode. Now the name of the file object is CSV underscore file. After this, we are using the reader method from the CSV module. So we have specified CSV, then the dot operator, then the reader method, and within this reader method, we have passed this file object, which is CSV underscore file. So in this way, we are creating a reader object. Now we will use this reader object to read data from the CSV file. Now first let's understand how we can fetch the headers. So as I told you, the very first line in the CSV file represents headers. So here what we are doing, we are using the next function to fetch the very first line from the CSV file, and we are converting its data type to list, and we are storing its result in the headers variable. So here headers will be a list type variable which contains all the header values, and then we are simply using a print function to print the header names. Now next, to fetch all the records from the CSV file, we will use a for loop. So here you can see we are iterating over each record from the CSV underscore reader object, which is the reader object, and we are printing the data. So this will return each row from the CSV file. And one more thing, it will return data in the form of list. Now after this, if we want to fetch the total number of lines which are there in the CSV file, we need to use this line underscore num attribute. Now we need to apply this attribute on the reader object. So that's why we have specified CSV underscore reader dot line underscore num. So let me first show you the CSV file which I'm going to use in this example. So in this example also I'm using the same CSV file which I have shown you initially. So this is the CSV file imdb underscore data dot CSV. Now here you can see these are the headers in this file, and all these lines are records. So let me come back to the Jupyter notebook and let's execute this cell, and here you can see the result. So first it has returned the header names in the form of list. So very first is this title, then we have the IMDb and hyphen rating, then we have sensor board rating, and then we have release year. After this, it has returned all the records from the CSV file, starting from this, the Batman to Titanic, and the total number of lines in the file is 9. We can also confirm it. So here you can see total number of lines in the file is 9. Now there is one more method to read a CSV file. So instead of using the CSV module, we can also utilize the open function to read a CSV file. Now how we can do this? Basically the data of a CSV file is stored in the text format only. So just like we read a text file using the open method, we can utilize the open method to read data of a CSV file as well. So let us discuss this example. First we are opening this imdb underscore data.csv file in the reading mode. The file object is this CSV underscore file. Then we are using the readline methods to fetch all the lines of data from the CSV file. After this, now to fetch the headers, we are using slicing on the CSV underscore data variable. Now this variable represents read lines object. So we are iterating the very first row of data from this CSV file, and then we are printing its value. After this, we are fetching all the remaining records. So for that, we are using this for loop for data in CSV, and this time we started slicing from index 1 to the very end. That's why we specified 1 colon, and then we didn't specify anything. So if you do not specify the ending index, then it will slice till the very end. So it will start from index number 1 and it will go till the end, and then we are simply printing the record using the data variable. So let me execute this code block, and here on the screen you can see the result. So header name is this, which are same, and then remaining all the records are this. Now let us discuss one more example related to how we can read a CSV file. So in this example also we are using the CSV module, but this time we are going to use some different method. So in this example we are going to use this dict reader method. Now this dict reader method returns a dict reader object, and this is an iterable object containing dictionaries, and these dictionaries represents each row where keys of the dictionaries are header names and the values of the key is the row values. So in this example also, we simply use this dict reader method. Then we created this dict reader object, which is CSV underscore reader. Then we are using a for loop to iterate over each element in the dict reader. And then we are printing the element. So let me execute this code block. And here you can see it has returned list of dictionaries where each of the dictionary represents the record. Now here you can see in the dictionary, the key represents the header. So the title is the Batman and the value represents the corresponding header value. So here you can see title is the Batman. In the same way, title is Jurassic Park. Then title is the Godfather. In the same way, we got the whole data from the CSV in the form of key value pairs. Now, once we understand how we can read a CSV file, let's move to the next topic and understand how we can write a CSV file. Now for the implementation of this task in Python, we can utilize the writer and the write row method. In Python, we can create a writer object with the help of the writer method from the CSV module, and to write data into the CSV file, we need to use the write row method with the writer object. Now the main task of using the writer method is to transform the data given by the user into the delimited string. After this, we utilize the string in the write row method to write data into the file. Moreover, just like the write row method, we can utilize variety of techniques to write a CSV file. For example, we can also utilize the write rows method, which takes multi-dimensional lists and it will write that multi-dimensional list as records in the CSV file. So let us discuss examples related to both of these methods one by one. So let's discuss the very first example where we are going to use the write row method. So first we imported the CSV module, then we open the unicorn.csv file in the writing mode, and we also define this new line parameter. So what will happen by specifying this parameter? Generally, or we can say by default, what happen, a new line, whenever we write a data, it will produce a new line. So instead of new line, we want empty string. So that's why we have used this parameter. Now, after opening the file in the writing mode, we are using the writer method from this CSV module, and we pass the file object as an argument to this method. So in this way we are creating a writer object. The name of this writer object is CSV underscore writer. Then we define header, which is a list containing all the header names which we are going to write in our CSV file. And then we use the write row method with our writer object, which is CSV underscore writer. And then we pass the header as an argument to this write row method. So in this way we have inserted headers in our CSV file. Now once we have inserted the headers, we can insert data as well by using the same write row method, but we need to make sure that we pass list as an argument to this method. So here you can see I have specified this method 3 times to specify 3 different records. Now once we write the data in the last, this message will be printed out, which is CSV written successfully. Now what will happen? Once we execute this code block, it will check whether this unicorn.csv file exists in the same working directory or not. If the file exists, then it will truncate that file and insert the data that we are inserting using the write row method. But if the file does not exist, then in that case it will create a new file with the same name. So currently, if I show you, I am in this directory working with CSV, which is in my desktop, and here you can see I do not have any CSV file named unicorn. Now let me first execute this code block. So once I have executed this code block, you can see this line has been printed, CSV written successfully. Now if I come back to this directory, here you can see this file unicorn.csv, and if I open this CSV file, you can see data in it. So very first row represents the headers, which is company, valuation, date, joined, country and city. And then after that we have 3 records. So in this way we can write a CSV file, but there is one constraint, because write row method accepts only one list So in this way, we need to use this write row method again and again to insert each row of data. What we can do instead of this, we can use the write rows method. So the write rows method takes multi-dimensional list as an input, and it will insert that multi-dimensional list as records in the CSV file. So let us discuss one example related to this as well. So let's focus on the example 2. In this example also, first we imported the CSV module, then we define a list name headers. So we have defined the same headers that we have defined in the previous example. Then we define a multi-list variable, which is records. Now this list contains three more lists. Now these three lists represents each row in the CSV file. After this, we have opened the unicorn.csv file in the writing mode, and then we define the new line parameter as empty string. So in this way, we have defined this csv underscore file. So, and this is a file object. After that, we are utilizing this file object in the writer method, which is there in the CSV module. In this way, we have created a writer object, which is csv underscore writer. Then to insert headers, we will use the write row method because we want to specify only a single list. That's why we have used this write row method, and we pass headers as an argument to this method. So in this way, we have specified our headers in the CSV file. Now next, to specify multiple records, we will use write rows. So after row, we have specified one s, and this method will take records as an argument. Now records is a multi-list variable, and after implementing this, in the last we will print the same string message, which is CSV written successfully. Now what I will do, I will delete this. So what I will do, I will delete this unicorn.csv file. Now if you see in my current working directory, there is no file named unicorn. Now what I will do, I will execute this code block, and once we execute this code block, it has returned this string CSV written successfully. And now if I open this unicorn.csv file, here you can see it has created this CSV with the following data. Now I hope you all understand how we can work with CSV files in Python. And with this, we have come to the end of this tutorial session. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next one.